Philadelphia 76ers suffer another 40-point loss as they get blown out by the Spurs. But hey, Keith, at least they set an NBA record in the process. We'll talk about that more in this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code Locked On, and get $20 off your first purchase. Keith Pompey right there, longtime 76ers beat writer. Marc Farzetta, a longtime Philly sports talker with you in the city. Brotherly love. We got to talk about how the Sixers need to bounce back immediately against the Utah Jazz tonight. VJ Edgecombe status, because that was a little scary at the end of the first half. And another blowout. Now, let me just pay off on this real quick, Keith, because I didn't even realize this. I knew I'd gone through it. In about the third quarter, when I realized the Sixers really had no chance at all to win this basketball game, how bad has it been this year? So I went back and I looked at the schedule there. 41-point loss to the Magic, 49-point loss to the Knicks, and then they were encroaching on a 40-point loss. I think at the time they were down 49 points to the Spurs last night. And I started crunching the numbers. And then I realized all those games are at home, including last night's game. And wouldn't you know it, Keith, congratulations to the 76ers on this dubious distinction. They are the first team in the history of the NBA to lose 3 home games in a single season by 40 or more points. So, hey, way to go, boys. Way to do it. Way to do it. Now, they didn't have Joel Embiid or Paul George in any of those 3 losses that we just highlighted. And last night, they didn't even have VJ Edgecombe in the second half. We talked a little bit before the show, Keith. You compare this to another era of Sixers basketball. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's starting to remind me of the process. It really is. And the whole thing is, not only is it reminding me of the process, it's reminding me of certain seasons after the process, where in January, the 76ers were playing great towards the end of January. And then February comes and it's a real inconsistent. And then March opens up and it's extremely rocky. And that's what's happening. The thing about it is, we're talking about they lost 4 games by 40 or more points at home. The one game was 49 points to the Knicks. The other one was 41 points to the Orlando Magic. And this one was 40 to the Spurs, which could have been 50-something.
Yeah.
Before that, the Sixers' worst home loss is 51 points in 2015. That's when they lost by 51 points when they were in the midst of the process, the tanking. And you look at it, and unfortunately, the expectations have changed, but the results haven't. You're looking at this game and you're saying to yourself that they have no chance of winning. It's an embarrassment that the fans are booing them. In the third quarter comes, people are leaving. And you're looking at Nick Nurse and you're saying to yourself, well, who's going to be next year's coach? Right? It's all over again. And
GM and GM, president of basketball ops, all that. Yeah.
And the thing is, you say to yourself, like, did Nick Nurse really get a chance to show what he could do because of the injuries? And, I was talking to my daughter yesterday and she was saying, Dad, why is it so bad? I said, well, the problem is you have 2 guys who are making $110 million combined sitting on the bench, hurt right now. And now you have to have Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe go above and beyond, and they're unable to, and that's the reason why they're losing. But this looks bad, Mark. It really does, especially for a team who came out. Now, again, we know that the San Antonio Spurs are one of the best teams in the league, right? We know that the Minnesota Timberwolves and all these, they beat Minnesota, but we know that some of these other teams that they're losing to are Boston Celtics, are good teams. But to lose by 41 and only score 11 points in the third quarter, where, right,
Yeah.
That can't happen. It just can't happen especially on national TV.
Back-to-back games, national TV, back-to-back games where, one against Boston, you just got blown off the board. Simple as that, and second chance points galore. But this game was just another embarrassing home loss, another embarrassing loss on national TV. And the ask you have, the request that you make of Nick Nurse is, in especially games where you don't have Paul George or Joel Embiid, look like you have an NBA team. Don't look like you have a G League roster. Don't look like a coach that's never won an NBA title like Nick Nurse has. People already forget that, and I get why. Tyrese Maxey's got to be on. And I get that the roster last night, talking about G League rosters and all that. I mean, going into the game, we talked about how important Kelly Oubre was going to be. He's sick. He couldn't play last night. So Quentin Grimes goes into the starting five. Then Andre Drummond, he gets into foul trouble almost immediately. Ends up only playing, 5 minutes in last night's game? I made a joke during postcast last night. It was like Andre Drummond getting into foul trouble and walking off the court 2 minutes into the game for a Dembona to come in. And Dembona's looking at Drummond like, dude, that's my thing. I'm the foul trouble guy. What are you doing? You got to stay in these games, friend. And they obviously didn't have it work out that way, but look like you belong. Look like you're an NBA roster. Look like you have earned, in some cases, an NBA contract here. And the Sixers, at no point in this game, really looked at that. When they tied the score at 22 in the first quarter, Maxey knocked down a three. Then the Spurs immediately responded with a 7-0 run. And really from that point on, it was all Spurs. The fourth quarter, hey, good for Jabari Walker to go out there and put some good film out there, I guess. But everything else was terrible. Everything else in this basketball game was terrible. And it was embarrassing, and they did not at all look like an NBA team going up against especially one of the best teams in the NBA. And then here's the other thing. 131 points the Spurs scored. Only 10 of them, Keith, were scored by Victor Wembanyama. They had 7 other scorers, 8 total, finish in double figures in points last night. I mean, that's depth right there.
Yeah, that's depth. And before the game, I mean, yesterday we talked about it, and we talked about Kelly Oubre, but I also mentioned 2 other names. I said Quentin Grimes and Dominic Barlow, right? Mm-hmm. Quentin Grimes, Kelly is kind of like a glue guy. He does a lot of different things. But Quentin Grimes, in order for the 76ers to be successful, this version of the 76ers with guys out, he has to start showing us that he's closer to playing like the guy he did last year than what he's been doing recently. And, Quentin was 1 for 5, shooting the ball in 21 minutes, right? Basically 21 minutes, 47 seconds. He was 1 for 5. He had 2 points. And Dominic Barlow looked lost out there. He played 13 minutes. He was 0 for 4 shooting. And the one thing is, I didn't really like Drummond's game at all. And here's my reason being. I understand that against the Boston Celtics, you made 2 for 4 threes, right? You shot better than most. But in your 5 minutes, you had 7 shots. 4 of those shot attempts were 3-pointers, and you missed all of them. So you were stretching the floor, but you weren't being impactful, right? Also, we talk about the fouls he had. One foul was what you do. You shove Wemby in the back. Now, we talked about you got to get physical with the guy, but it's certain things that you're doing. Wemby dishes the ball to a teammate. The guy hits a 3, and then you just come back and just obliterate the dude, knock him to the ground.
Yeah.
It comes a point where it's like you can't make those type of plays. So, and then on the defensive end, what did we talk about? We said, yes, Wemby is a special player, but you also have to contain his teammates. You got to contain Fox, Castle, Champagny. We didn't even talk about Vassell, and he's a guy, and he was torching them. I mean, they left them wide open. Caden Johnson came in. Dylan Harper, they were just destroying them with the balance. And, this was, again, it's a tough task when you already have Joel Embiid and Paul George out, and then Kelly Oubre goes out. But, the guys who needed to step up to keep it competitive just didn't do it. And Quentin Grimes, this is another game where He disappeared. And the 76ers really need him to play like he wants to be that $20 million a year player.
No, I'm with you 100%. All right, when we come back, there was also not just embarrassment last night in South Philadelphia. There was also a big scare put through the Philadelphia 76ers fan base when VJ Edgecombe went down. We'll talk about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers and Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Back after this. Oh, happy tax season, everybody. It's tax time. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot, right? Trying to book an appointment, that's not the most convenient way to do it. Sitting down in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, and wondering if they really get your particular situation. This year, get a major upgrade. With Intuit TurboTax, they now have in-person locations worldwide. Or nationwide, excuse me, nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local. That's TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today with TurboTax/local. And how about the Everydayer Club? Sign up to be a member of the Everydayer Club at LockedOn76ers.supercast.com. You get ad-free episodes of Locked On 76ers as well as the members-only Discord service. So make sure you guys sign up to be part of the Everydayer Club at LockedOn76ers.supercast.com. So Nick Nurse, Keith, said after the game that VJ Edgecombe is still under evaluation. I need you, in all your years of experience here, how does this make any sense? Or are the Sixers just not releasing information? The injury report's not even out yet, and they play tonight. How does a guy leave the game at halftime, not come back after he was fouled hard at the end of the first half? Then you have 2 quarters of basketball, and you go back into the locker room after the game, and still no evaluation, no word, no update, nothing. How does that even work? They have doctors, they have trainers, they have people that can look at them on the spot. How does that all work?
Yeah, typically what they do, the first thing they do is they give them an X-ray. They do all that stuff, and then they alert the coach. The coach knows what's going on. He's just not telling. He's just not saying anything.
It's just I'm not telling you. Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's just he's not telling you. Yeah, because they know everything. And a lot of times when he would say stuff about Joel Embiid, I don't know. I mean, sometimes maybe Joel wasn't like being forthcoming or telling stuff to him. But typically the coach knows everything, and that's what it is. They go, they give you the X-ray, they do this. You give them a MRI maybe the next day, But yeah, he's just not saying anything. And the thing is, you look at it, he fell on his back. Let's just say if he has a back spasm, right? Let's just say if he has a lower back spasm. That takes a couple of days sometimes to maybe a week or whatever. Now, you can typically, some guys, if it's a playoff game or if it's a really big game, they'll get some treatment overnight and come back and play. But you ask yourself, is it really worth it right now? Or do we want him to be rested? Because, a back injury can linger for a while, right? One of those type things. So, Nick Nurse knows. He just wasn't saying anything. He was and that has recently been the Sixers' mantra, right? What happened? What's up with Joel Embiid? Oh, he has right knee soreness. Okay, I know that's a reaction, but what is the right knee soreness a result of? Did he what happened to the knee? Oh, it's just sore. So, so for him to say what he said, being as vague as he was, that was part of the plan. Yeah, that's part of the plan. He didn't want to give out any information.
That's what I thought. So how concerning is this? The play happened less than a second left, end of the first half. VJ puts up a 3. Carter Bryant reaches over top of VJ's head. For those that didn't see it, for those that tuned out already at this point, he reaches over VJ Edgecombe's head and then pulls him down to the ground, essentially, on a really hard foul. VJ ended up going to the line, walking around a little bit, trying to get a little loose, goes to the line, knocks down 2 of the 3 free throws, and then we don't see him again for the rest of the game. A couple of minutes into the second half, Kate Scott on the local broadcast announced that the Sixers aren't going to have VJ Edgecombe back into the game. Lower back soreness is what they called it officially. A bruise, spasm, we don't know yet, again, because we didn't get the update from the coach after the game, who, according to him, had no update, but we both know that doesn't pass the smell test. What's your concern going forward? Does your gut tell you he plays tonight against the Jazz, or the 76ers say, VJ, you just keep resting, man. We're not going to have you play the second leg of the back-to-back?
No, he's a young guy. Again, if I think if it was a really important, it is an important game, let's be real. But when you look at a team like Utah, a team that's committed to losing, I don't know if I would take that chance this quickly with him.
I'm not playing him. I'm with you. I'm not playing him.
I'm not playing him. I mean, I don't know if I'm trying to do that. Now, again, without him, they could possibly lose to a team trying to lose, right? But I don't know if I'm playing them tonight. No, I mean, because you're going to need them other games. Like, you're going to need them. Like, what do they do? They play tonight, and then let's say what's their next game after this? So they play tonight, and then they're off again until Saturday. I think, me personally. Now, again, he may say, "Hey, look, I really want to go and I really want to play." But
I want to play Ace Bailey. I want to play Ace Bailey tonight.
And that's the thing I'm afraid of. Not to say that he will, but right now we don't need guys going at it, trying to prove that you deserve to be the number 3 pick in Philadelphia. Everybody knows you deserve to be the number 3 pick, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's me, it's one of those things that I'm saying to him, bruh, you're going to rest tonight, probably rest tomorrow. You're going to practice on Friday before we play this game on Saturday against the Hawks, because we really need to win. And then we got a tough stretch coming up against the Hawks on Saturday, on Monday at Cleveland, Tuesday against the Grizzlies, and then next Thursday against Detroit, right? You know what I mean? You need him. You need him. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. Like, if I'm the Sixers, I just really want to rest them. I do. I just want to rest them.
I'm with you 1,000% on that one. And I agree that the Ace Bailey thing is a carrot being dangled out in front, maybe of motivation. Hey, go out there and play. To hell with that. You got enough guys already banged up. You don't need another one trying to force any issue. So, hey, I was even saying last night, give me Kyle Lowry in the third quarter. Give me the fourth quarter. I was saying put Doug. He was there on the side. Put him into the game. I don't care. It'd be right around the same age as Kyle Lowry. Have him go out there and let it rip, man.
Ouch, 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 ouch. Yo, here's the thing, though, when we think about this now.
Yeah.
This is when you really miss a guy like Jared McCain.
Ooh.
This is when you really miss him. Like, you
real
really
quick,
miss
real quick.
a guy like
Real quick, sorry to interrupt you, but did you hear Maxey after the game?
What did he say? But he's been mentioned, Jared?
So he gets asked about, and again, sorry to cut you off there, but I just
no,
go
ahead.
He gets asked about the morale of the team since the West Coast trip. Okay? And he goes, yeah, no, the morale, it's not that bad. Blah, blah, blah. We did just win 3 in a row. We lost back-to-back games now, but the trade deadline, and then he volunteers the trade deadline. Doesn't get asked about it yet. And then my man I used to work with, Dave Uram, asked him the question, well, wait a minute, what about that trade deadline? Like, do you notice teammates missing Jared McCain? He's like, well, of course we miss him. Like, he's a friend of all of ours. He made it more personal. But the fact that he volunteered when asked about morale of the team, the trade deadline being an impact, that tells you all you need to know. Because I absolutely agree with your statement, missing Jared McCain. Hell yeah, they miss Jared McCain. And I still think they should not have pulled the trigger on that deal. As much as Daryl Morey wants to try to convince people that he sold high. Well, yeah, compared to the way Jared McCain started the year, you sold high. But the way he had been playing for the last month up until the deadline, you sold low, friend. You sold real low. And now what? He's leading the NBA in 20-point games off the bench since the time of the trade. He's got 3 20-point games, including last night for OKC. Hell yeah, they missed Jared McCain, Keith.
Yeah. And he stepped up like the other night because, guys were resting and they went in there. Now, granted, they weren't playing like a contender, but at the same time, they had him out there and he did what he was supposed to do. Yeah, they really miss him. And the thing about the roster that we look at right now is, the campaign thing is a little bit, he has to get a little bit more consistent minutes for him to be impactful. Like, last night he played well, right? You look at it, but at the same time, it was kind of like a blowout loss too. So you're going to do certain things, but then against Boston, what did he do? Like, he rarely played. So to me, it's like you bring this guy in, but I don't know if the coach has 100% confidence in him, right? Whereas, and then you look at Jared McCain, and it was like really inconsistent, but now he seems like he's finding his groove. But, right now, we look at their guards. The guards' depth was supposed to be the strongest thing. Tyrese is doing whatever he can. I know there's certain people looking at him, and they're saying, like, yo, he's not making shots, he's struggling. But it's one of those things where, you take the other stars off the team, and then they're saying to you, you gotta dominate, you gotta will your team to win. But teams know how to attack you. They know your deficiencies, so they're attacking that, right? So it's tough. You're taking tough shots. But then VJ Edgecombe goes down. Quentin Grimes is in, witness protection. Like, you can't find him. Like, he's struggling right now. And then you don't have Jared McCain, and Jared McCain is playing his best ball of the year right now with another team, so, and he probably win a championship this year. So with that being said, it's like, it's just bad by the Sixers. I mean, it's one of those things where you look at it and you're saying to yourself, here we go again. Here we go again. It's the same old with the Sixers, unfortunately, for them, because this year, had lofty expectations. Because let's think about this. And I hate to be long-winded, but let's think about this. Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey retained their jobs last year because of Joel Embiid and Paul George were injured. And they said this year was going to be different. They went out there and got a younger team and everything. And now this season looks just like last season before they started tanking, right? Joel Embiid is on the shelf. Paul George is on the shelf. Players are getting injured. They made trades where the team got worse after the trade deadline. And this is what we're dealing with. Same old.
Yeah, I agree. I also want to get this in here because I think this is a great way to put it. SB Cole saying in our chat here, not having Joel or Paul George is a fair excuse for losing, but not a fair excuse for losing or looking that bad. I agree. That's a perfect way to put it.
Exactly. And here's the thing that we talked about in the open. You said those 3 40-point losses are an NBA record, right? So let's look at it. The Utah Jazz are tanking. The 76ers had the process that I covered and saw all those games, right? The Washington Wizards are tanking. None of these teams suffered a loss 3 losses this bad, right? And unfortunately for the Sixers, 2 of those losses were on national TV. 2 of them were on national TV at home, right? So, you shouldn't lose that bad, not in the NBA game. You should not lose that bad. No.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the Knicks loss sounded like a road game. I'll just say that. Anyway, hey, to fan that flame a little bit more, Keith, how about this one? Going into last night, the Spurs had 43 wins on the season. They now have 44. Congratulations, and you're welcome. This was their first 40-point win of the season. So literally the best game a great team in the NBA this year has had was against the 76ers. Good times. When we come back, we're going to talk about that Utah Jazz game going on tonight. Second leg of the back-to-back 7:30 tip. Get to that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers when we return. And now let's talk about the Gametime app. Want to go to a game? Want to go to a concert? Want to go to a comedy show? Gametime app has you covered. Gametime's where it's at, especially if you want to be in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, can be a little bit tough. That's why the Gametime app has your back. It gives the advantage back to the fan where it belongs. Pull up the Gametime app, pick up an NBA game, maybe a concert, a comedy show, whatever it is. You can get tickets right there on the Gametime app. Lock them in within minutes. Love seeing the all-in pricing, by the way, up front. So when you go to check out, you're not shocked. Whoa. How do these $40 tickets become $50? What happened? Not with the Gametime app. Also, you could view your seat's vantage point before you buy the ticket. So you're taking the guesswork out of buying tickets. And you can do that with the Gametime app. Also, great last-minute options, too, on the Gametime app. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets or concert, comedy show tickets as well with the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com on the Gametime app. Utah Jazz now coming to South Philadelphia tonight for the second leg of their back-to-back. Yes, Ace Bailey is going to be part of that show tonight. The Utah Jazz enter this game 18-43 on the season. Sixers 33-28, coming off of two rough losses, including one horribly embarrassing loss just last night to the Spurs. No VJ Edgecombe, just Tyrese Maxey potentially in this lineup. Kelly Oubre was sick, a last-minute scratch before the game. I'd love to say that the Sixers have an easy win in front of them, but nothing looks easy right now for the Sixers, Keith. I can't do it. With the way they've looked, I can't look at the Sixers winning this game. What are you thinking about the matchup tonight?
And it's a good one. It's a good observation by you because when we look at it, the Spurs did play Denver tough, right?
Uh-huh.
And they ended up losing by 3 points.
The Jazz.
The Jazz. Excuse me. The Jazz played Denver tough. They ended up losing by 3 points. My thing is right now is I think a lot is going to have to go with Kevonte George. This guy is averaging 23.9 points, 3.8 rebounds. He's going to be in straight attack mode. Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey is starting. He's averaging 12.1 points per game, 4.1 rebounds. I just feel like that is all going to come down to what if the Sixers can stop George. Now, I do think that the Utah Jazz are going to do some tricky things in the game where they're going to say, okay, we're going to rest some guys or we're going to do some other things to whereas, they're tanking. And let's face it, the Sixers know they need to win, but this team know that they want to lose, right? And I do think that the 76ers will pull it out because of that. But I do think that if George could get hot, especially early, and is in straight attack mode, it could make it tough for the 76ers. It could. But I do think that the Sixers will win this one. I do. It's something about a team tanking. Something about a team not wanting to win is just, it tends to work out for you.
I will mention, I hope you're right. It's hard for me to have any semblance of faith after last night. But I will say this. In the 5 games since the All-Star break, Ace Bailey has his average up to 15 points a game. I don't know if chip on the shoulder applies to a guy like Ace Bailey, who certainly had question marks about motivation if he went anywhere other than the Wizards. But obviously the Sixers are one of the other teams that passed on him. Sixers probably the team that was most likely to take them of the top 3, and they just decided, no, we're good. We'll go with VJ, and that's what they did. I don't know if that chip on the shoulder mentality or argument can be made for Ace Bailey, but hey, we'll find out tonight whether or not he gets a little a chip on his shoulder, a little upset, a little angry, a little extra motivation for playing against a team that passed up on him. We'll find that out tonight. But I hope tonight's a night where you can see Tyrese Maxey absolutely go off. I hope Kelly Oubre's back and he has himself a great game, all that. So cross my fingers for that tonight. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. I'll be back with you guys on the postcast tonight right after the game. Quick 15-minute hit right after the game for instant reaction. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Locked On 76ers. Make sure you guys are following Keith Pompey on all social media platforms as well. Back with you guys later on. See you then. Bye.